Anyone remember 2018? It was decades ago now. I went on this 800-kilometer hike called the Camino de Santiago. Began in the mountains of France, and you walk to the western edge of Spain. And all along the way are these yellow arrows, right? Just like the one you see there. They all point in the same direction. It's virtually impossible to get lost, okay? Because these arrows are everywhere. They're on signs. They're spray painted on the sides of rocks. They're spray painted on the roads. There are these little pillars everywhere. They're on the sides of buildings. They even put them in their flowers, okay? That's how ubiquitous these arrows are. They're everywhere, and it's virtually impossible to get lost. I got lost, okay? Now, I won't get into the story of how that happened. I just got lost in conversation one day. I stopped paying attention. But I think I was the only person on the whole Camino who got lost. You know, I never met anybody else who did. But Father Simon will tell you, I have a terrible sense of direction. Okay? I get lost basically the moment I pull out of the parking lot in the morning, or the driveway in the morning. So, you know, shout out to my GPS, because I do not know where I would be without it. Okay, really bad joke, but anyway. Now, I think life is kind of like a really long journey, right? It's full of all these arrows that point us in different directions. We hear, wherever we turn, we hear different voices, people telling us what to do, what to believe, what's important. You know, we follow our favorite people on social media and TikTok and Instagram, and they're all kind of giving us different opinion about how to eat healthy and live healthy and all the things that we should do. We follow political pundits who all give us sort of a different vision of what's happening in the world, often competing voices giving us telling us different things about the same topics. We follow celebrities and athletes. We follow sports teams, and there's all worlds full of awash with information and disinformation. And often it's hard to tell the difference between the two, right? And so we live in this world that's sort of chaotic and full of noise. And all of these voices and people and things are all pointing us in different directions. And it's so easy to get lost along the way. Now, how do we keep from getting lost is the question, right? Now, in the gospel, there's this great scene, right, where John, one of the friends of Jesus, one of the most intimate friends and followers of Jesus, he comes up to Jesus and he says, "Teacher, we saw someone casting out demons in your name, and we tried to stop him." Now, what was happening here? Well, there was some kind of exorcist who was driving out demons and using the name of Jesus to do it. But John didn't know who this person was. And so he told him to stop. Why? Well, John says, because he was not following us. It's really interesting that he would say us, right? I'm not exactly sure how to interpret that, but I wonder if John forgot that he was supposed to be an arrow pointing back to Jesus, right? Maybe he got caught up with the status of being associated with Jesus, the prophet from Galilee, the miracle worker. There are all these crowds of people following them. Maybe he thought he was supposed to be somebody who was supposed to be followed. Now, he forgot his responsibility as a follower of Jesus to be an arrow pointing back to him. Now, Jesus, he says to John, he says, look, don't stop him, because no one who does a deed of power in my name will soon afterward be able to speak ill of me, because whoever is not against us is for us. In other words, it's like Jesus is saying, look, he's using my name, right? And he's either following me now, or he will be soon when he sees the effect, the power of my name. So don't get in the way, because he's looking for me, and he's going to follow me. And I think the danger as Christians is, as followers of Jesus, we forget our role, like John, that we're always supposed to be pointing back to Jesus. like a bright yellow arrow. Now that's what we want to do, always, as followers of Jesus. Now at Saint Benedict, that's what we do. That's who we are, right? You've maybe heard our purpose statement. We exist to make disciples who joyfully live out the mission of Jesus. In all that we do, we want to be constantly pointing people back to Jesus because Jesus makes the difference. A person who encounters Jesus, it changes their life. See, we don't want followers of Saint Benedict. We don't want followers of Father Alex. And we definitely don't want followers of Father Simon, okay? That would be bad news for everybody. We want followers of Jesus. And that's why over these last number of weeks, we've been reintroducing our game plan, which is the way we make followers of Jesus. Now we call this Game Plan 2.0. It's an update to what we've done in the past. What is a game plan? The game plan is like the spiritual journey or the disciples' journey of encountering Jesus and following him. Now, last week we started talking about the first icon that's discovered Jesus, and that's where the journey begins. That's the most important part. Now, here at Saint Benedict, the way we do that is with Alpha. Now, Alpha is not the only way for a person to discover Jesus, right? I didn't discover Jesus through Alpha. I think probably many of you didn't. But here, we found that it to be one of the most effective ways of helping people discover the person of Jesus, that he's real, that he's alive, that he's a plan and purpose for our lives. And so that we want to be intentional about making space so people can experience Jesus in Alpha. Now, we're entering into Alpha season, which means that it's starting on Wednesday. And if you're looking for, okay, what do I do? How do I get back on track if I've lost my way? Well, Alpha is a great way to do that. It's going to be online. Alpha has 3 parts, right? There's like a fun icebreaker where we can connect with each other. There's a video to stimulate discussion where we explore questions about life, meaning, and faith. And then a small group discussion where you can explore these questions with other people in a safe place. And you don't have to take my word for the difference that it makes, because there's all kinds of stories of people whose lives have been changed by discovering Jesus through Alpha. And I want to share one with you right now. So here's Colleen and Julia's story.
Hi, I'm Colleen McNeil, and I am a parishioner of Saint Benedict's Parish. My story begins in 2019 when I landed in the hospital, and I was in a ward room with a few others, and one in particular lady that I met there. Her name was Grace, and she certainly lived up to her name. After about 2 weeks, my time was coming to leave and be discharged, and Grace was still there. I knew she was an avid reader, and I said to my sister who was visiting me at the time, "Can you please go and find something that I can give to Grace?" My sister showed up with a book called Jesus Calling and told me I should inscribe it for Grace, which I did. Well, I found out 2 weeks later that Grace didn't have an opportunity to go home to her home, but she was actually called home to God. I received a phone call out of the blue one day, and I didn't get to the phone in time, but called this young lady back. Her name was Julia, and she had reached out to me saying that she got the book, and she saw inside of the book my inscription, and she thought she'd reach out and call me since my phone number was in there as well. It was a crossroad that she didn't know which way to go. And we talked about God and how God had worked so greatly in my life, and that it was easy for me to talk to her about God because she had received the book, Jesus Calling. Before I ended the conversation with Julia, I said to her, by the way, if you were not related to Grace, but yet you knew Grace's name inside the book, like, how did you come about finding the book? And she said it was given to her by her mom, but they found it at Value Village. That Tuesday evening when I was working from home, I heard God say to me, invite Julia to Alpha. I immediately picked up the phone and called her and invited her to go to Alpha. And she sent me an email back saying she joined immediately. And I was ecstatic for her. But I will let you look how it's unfolded in Julia's life. And now begins her story.
Before I welcomed God into my life, I felt trapped in a place of fear. I was experiencing bouts of depression that caused me to feel alone and hopeless. I couldn't imagine myself anywhere but trapped in this sadness. I felt disconnected, and I felt this desperate longing for more. I spent all my energy on trying to fix myself. I tried changing my diet, committing more time to exercise, reading scientifically proven self-help books, all of which just caused me to feel burnt out and defeated. Throughout my depression, my mom would continuously recommend that I pray. Now, being the proud, self-proclaimed atheist that I was, I always dismissed her advice with my nose held high. It wasn't until I began to experience suicidal thoughts that I allowed myself to take the first steps in surrendering. I started a conversation with God. It wasn't anything complicated, and it was likely along the lines of, God, please help me. While I didn't know it at the time, that simple prayer opened me up to a world of abundant love. I believe that God understood my fear of relinquishing my control to Him. And so, He approached me very gently. With every prayer answered, it became easier and easier to surrender to His will. And it's okay to have doubts. It's okay to be scared. He understands, and He'll always be patient. I truly believe that God directly guided me towards the Alpha program. About a year ago, my mom accidentally bought a second copy of the book, Jesus Calling. She decided to give me the second copy of this book that she had bought from the thrift store. On the first page of the book was a handwritten message, written by a woman named Colleen. Next to her name was a phone number. I was always tempted to call this phone number, but it took me many months to work up the courage to do so. When I finally did, Colleen and I had a beautiful conversation about faith. Towards the end of the call, Colleen suggested that I look into the Alpha program at Saint Benedict's Parish. Months later, I had yet to look up the program. I once again found myself in a place of loss. I was listening to God, but I didn't understand what He wanted me to do. That night, I got an email from Colleen, reminding me of the Alpha program that would be starting the following night. God's message was loud and clear. I signed up for the program that very same day. The Alpha program not only allowed me to connect with others who shared the same faith, it also allowed me to recognize that I am never alone. God is with me every single step of every single day. Now that, in and of itself, is a beautiful gift. While I still experience bouts of depression, it has become easier to recognize God's radiant light during those dark times. This light encompasses me with love and hope to guide me forward. As I share my story, I want to show others that vulnerability is what brings us closer to each other and to God. When we share our truths with each other, God's light shines bright within all of us. Our truths connect us together as one. And so whether you are going through a dark time or not, I hope that my truth may guide you towards a brighter path. My name's Julia, and that's my Alpha story.
extraordinary story. I don't know if you caught that, but this young woman, Julia, had the courage to call the phone number written in the front of a book that she got from the thrift store, right? That built this amazing connection. And God gave Colleen an opportunity to be like a big yellow arrow, right, pointing Julia to Jesus. And all of us have people in our lives like Julia who perhaps feel lost. They don't know where to turn or what to do. And each of us, as followers of Jesus, are called to be like an arrow, inviting them to take a step to discovering Jesus. Now, maybe you're sitting there and something connected with you from Julia's story. Well, I just invite you, take Alpha, sign up, give it a shot. You might be surprised what you might find. Because here's the thing, when we follow Jesus, it's like discovering true north. Whoever follows Jesus will never be lost. So invite somebody or try it yourself.